rarely do people talk about health in the context of community and relationships. That actually how we interact with one another impacts our physical well-being. Yes, diet does. Yes, exercise does. And yes, genes do affect our well-being and our health and our physical health and our mental health. But so does how we relate to one another. Talk about what it looks like to have a community that promotes a place where we grow whole. Where there's not the heart disease and the stress and the ulcers and the anxiety that is so prevalent in so many communities. But actually a community that actually can encourage our physical health. And what does that look like? Well, how many of you have ever started to speak with someone, maybe a stranger, someone you know, and they start to talk to you, and they move closer, and then what do? You kind of back off. And what are they crossing? They're crossing our what? Personal boundaries or personal space. So there's this physical idea of space that when it's crossed, it's like, whoa, you crossed my personal space. Well, they've done some work in terms of not just talking about space in terms of physical space, but maybe there's something within us that has what's called a relational space. And I want to talk about relational spaces. And it's in relation to crossing personal boundaries. The first space is public space. So we have these relationships in what's called public space. These are people we know, but they don't know us. But we have a sense of belonging. So public space is those relationships that we have with teams, authors. These are celebrities. Again, these are people we know, but they don't know us. So that is public space. Let's talk about social space, because we're talking about relationships here. Social space. These are people we know, and they know us. But it's somewhat in a social space context. We relate to these people because they give us a sense of belonging, and they're significant. These types of people could be, we go to Panera and we meet with a book club and we just kind of talk about a book that we're reading. It could be some of our neighbors that we have in the community where we don't really maybe meet with them in our house, but every once in a while we're walking our dog or riding our bike and we just start in conversation and we're just kind of sharing our lives socially. We haven't talked about maybe personal stories and we're not sharing our deep, dark secrets. But these are just people we socialize with every once in a while. But they're significant. This could be a doctor. This could be the person you go to the grocery store and you're buying your groceries and you just start talking to them. And you get to know their name and they get to know your name. It could be someone who cuts your hair. So you meet with them once a month. Others maybe three times a year. Maybe you need to go more often. Get in social space with your hairstylist. So, so you just kind of share your life with these people, but they're important, especially your hairstylist. Okay, you know them, they know you. What's in social space? Write it down. Let's talk about the next one: personal space. These are people where we start to share our personal life with. We start to share our personal stories. We start to talk about some of the joys and some of the excitements. It's like when you're sitting around a campfire. And what do? We just start telling stories about ourselves. Here's what I did when I was a kid. Here's what happened last week. And we start to share that. Some of these personal stories are revealing about our life. And this can happen in small groups. These are the people we consider our friends. Not necessarily our best friends, but these are our friends. These are the people you share personal stories with. Last space. This is intimate space. This is relationships, and I'm going to suggest to you that not everyone has people in intimate space. And when we talk about intimate relationships, we're not always talking about sexuality either. All right? The idea of intimacy is that there's no mask. There's nothing hidden. The idea of intimacy actually derives from without clothes. It's kind of the idea of intimacy. Being fully revealed. You're not hiding anything. There's no secrets. And so these are the relationships that we're in where we're revealing, here's my life. Here's my secrets. Here's what's in my closet. Or likewise, someone else might do that with us. And those are the intimate relationships. Now, a lot of times we consider sometimes our spouses in intimate relationships, but not all spouses are there. Some spouses are just in personal space. They're friends, and they show personal stories, but they still wear the mask. So don't assume that there's a certain hierarchy in terms of how we relate to one another, puts people in these different spaces. Who are those people, or individuals, I should say, who you share your secrets? What they'll say is in public space, we our cup is can be half full of public space people, have a lot of room. Social space, it's about half the distance from halfway to here. Personal space and then intimate space, meaning each of these spaces we only have the capacity for less people. We don't have the capacity to have 16 or 30 intimate relationships. We just don't. This is when physical problems start to occur. And when physical problems start to occur, it's a sign that something's unhealthy. That our lives are doing something unhealthy, or our community is unhealthy. So I want to use 2 words that's going to give you a language to help you understand relationships and to conduct what's called the art of relationships. 2 words. The first word is harmony. When we talk about relationships, we can move to disharmony when our cup overflows. Is a disharmony where our cup is overflowing. We are doing too much. I want you to consider something. Is it possible that you can serve too much? Is it possible that you can love too much? Yeah. But we are finite beings. And we have only a finite amount of space of relationships. We only have the capacity for so many relationships. And we can move to disharmony. We want to be careful of that. Second word. The word is significance. One of the things that we value in our culture is personal and intimate relationships, meaning we think the best relationships are those that are personal or intimate. And so what we start to do is we start forcing people into these relationships, trying to get people into this personal, intimate space. And that is not healthy. Because we only have the capacity, each one of us, some of us it's 1, 2, or 3 intimate relationships. No more. We don't have more. We only have a cup. And when it comes to personal relationships, maybe 10, 12, 8. There's no hard number, but you get the idea. And we have so many friends, we move to disharmony. And maybe it's not about moving people in these 4 spaces to getting them to be personal and intimate, but maybe it's about developing relationships that are significant. It's about significance. How do we develop a community here, not where we know each other personally, but where we are significant to one another? And that changes how we will do things and how we interact. Health does not come from exercise or genes. It comes from how we relate to one another. And my encouragement to you is this as a community. Live out the best kind of life. Pursue it. Keep doing what you're already doing. But do it with harmony and do it with significance.